But let's talk a little bit about cost of living. So
Mhm.
within those areas you were kind of describing, could you give us some examples of, single residence, or condos, things like that, if people are looking to buy or rent?
Yeah. So median home price in Dallas is a little bit under 350 right now in the DFW area. So that's when you compare that to LA or
Yeah,
New York or really anywhere, your jaw drops. That's why everyone comes from California. They're like, it's free. That's the median home price, right? And so that means we still have some affordability. I think the once you start going north toward and you get into Plano ISD, Frisco ISD, the home prices go up. I think we're now at like 450 is the median there. So you certainly have a wide range,
yeah.
and you have $1 million plus homes as well. So it's we still have affordability,
Hmm.
um, but I think unlike some cities where just everything is over $1 million now, right? I think we still have some affordability, but we also have some beautiful high end areas as well.
Hmm.
Um, and in terms of condos, I think now kind of in Oakland, uptown area, on the lower end for a 2 bedroom, maybe you're going to get in the mid threes. And condos, downtown condos with fabulous views. I mean, going up to 4 to 5 million. So
Hmm.
there's a wide range.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So
Yeah, yeah,
there's something for everyone.
absolutely.
I guess
Yeah,
is
yeah.
how to say that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Something
Just
for everyone.
depending on yeah, like your lifestyle or your income, by that
Right.
means.
Yeah.
Um
Exactly.
Super interesting. Okay.
So one of the great things about Dallas is we have a very diverse economic base. So, there are some like Houston is very much oil based,
Hmm.
and import export being closer to the Gulf of Mexico. And Dallas is like everything. We've had a lot of financial companies move here, insurance companies, Toyota moved here. It's like I feel like every day it's somebody else moving here.
Yep.
Also, quite a few retailers based here. Neiman Marcus. I was with Neiman Marcus for many years.
Oh.
Neiman Marcus, GameStop, J.C. Penney, 7-Eleven. I mean, there are a lot of retailers based here as well. So we have done well. Like in 2008, where you saw the downturn really affected some cities very badly, and Dallas recovered super quickly. And I
Hmm.
think also during the pandemic, we were also one of the first to recover. It's just that there's so many industries. We're not kind of tied to one. So, and I think companies come here because their employees want to come here because the cost of living is pretty good, and there's no state or local income tax. So now
Yeah, that's really
property
cool.
tax is a bit higher than most places, maybe not
Ah,
higher than California, but
yes.
there's no state income tax, and so that's one of the reasons that businesses like to move here. Also, not so much regulation, which is like good and bad. Bad when you can't get power, good when so
The the
because our
the
power grid's not so well regulated or
the
whatever.
pros and the cons. It's like,
The
hey,
pros
there's
and
no
cons,
no
yeah,
state income tax, but we might not
yeah,
have power once every like 20 years. So,
right. So
um,
there's that.
okay, that's yeah, it's always in the news. Yeah, I always see like so and so's moving to Florida or to Texas. They're relocating their whole company,
Mhm.
and people are. I've even seen articles where like whatever 100 employees they'll move, half of them will be like, yeah, we're going, and then half are like they'll just get different jobs. So that's like always a interesting phenomenon, I think, because it's like to move your whole entire life with a company is like kind of fascinating.
Right,
But
especially in this economy where people don't stay with the same company for their entire careers like they used to. But yeah,
right.
I think we're also seeing a lot of this work from home trend helps the not like we needed more people to move here, but it certainly helps that the influx, the immigration into Dallas and into Texas in general, because the cost of living is better, and that's why sometimes it feels like all of California is moving here. Yeah, and they also feel like everything's free, the
Hmm.
houses are free, which is not entirely true,
Right.
but
They can afford to like buy or
yeah,
rent a house.
Right, right, right.
as opposed to renting an apartment or
Right,
renting an apartment and saving, like, seems like for eternity, and then not,
right.
it's like, when am I able to buy a house? And
Yeah, and they
like,
can
yeah.
come and get a yard and have a dog and, have kids and things that are just so much more expensive in other cities. So I think that's, another reason. So we're getting a lot of work from home workers,
Hmm.
so that companies didn't have to move here to get them to move here.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's so interesting. In terms of the local economy, also, like, we have like these big companies that are moving there, but what about like smaller, maybe smaller family owned businesses and stuff like around the area?
Yeah, well, the retailers I named off are probably some of those other homegrown businesses here.
Yeah, I guess I'm thinking more like, just like those hole in the wall kind of like places where you're like, oh, there's, and maybe is, what's a good example? I think of like small bakeries that are here, and you're
Yeah,
like, oh, hey, like there's that one
yeah,
place, or those really small like jewelry stores or boutiques kind of things
sure. Yeah.
in the downtown area. Is that like a thing, or is it just mostly a mix, or bigger
It's
businesses?
a mix, but I would say that we have a lot of small businesses as well. Where I live in Oakland, any of the areas kind of around downtown, and partly because you've got a lot of restaurants and a lot of little stores and that sort of thing, and those tend to be, if you want to call them mom and pop. So yes, we have a lot of that. I remember years ago living in New York, and then suddenly there was a Starbucks in every corner, there was a Gap every 10 blocks or whatever, and I was like, oh my gosh, because New York used to be a ton of little mom and pop shops. Everything was mom and pop, and you knew your greengrocer. I remember being able to go into the grocery store, or this tiny little grocery store, having forgotten my wallet, and they're like, "That's okay. We'll put it on the account. You can pay it next time." That wouldn't happen here because
Oh
all
yeah.
our grocery stores are really big. But there was that kind of New York would be a big city with little community feel, because you knew your greengrocer, you knew the dry cleaner, you knew the hardware people. We had all these little stores, and then I was there when you kind of it became the standardization of retail, right? Where
Mm.
everything was the same. And I would say that certainly that's true everywhere, right? There's Starbucks everywhere. My gosh, there's, take your pick here. Three of them kind of equidistance from me, right? But we also have independent coffee places, lots of independent restaurants, independent stores. And personally, I try to support them. So one of my favorite places to eat is Lucky's, and that's locally owned. It's a kind of farm to table diner. So I'm at Lucky's all the time. And then I used to do an event before COVID, every year at a local kind of home gift shop. So we definitely have plenty of that, plus bakeries, plus you take your pick. But yes, it's a very vibrant business community. Like everywhere, we lost some of them during COVID.
If you like what you're hearing so far, check out the full episode right here.